Okay, good evening, everyone. I hope everything's working all right here from our side. It seems to be. Sometimes we have the fun with the technology side, but anyhow, yeah. So let's begin as we normally do by setting a very positive motivation. Just thinking about all the suffering in the world, not in order to make us feel miserable and depressed and helpless, but to be a springboard for us to open our hearts to others and to understand that just like us, there's nobody on the planet who wants to suffer, and everybody wants to be happy. So in the Mahayana Buddhist tradition, once we have committed to the path, we take a vow, the Bodhisattva vow, that we will become enlightened to benefit all beings. So why do we have to become enlightened in order to do that? Well, an enlightened mind is a mind that cares for all living beings equally, whether those people harm us or help us makes no difference to a Buddha. The Buddha has unconditional loving kindness, which is the wish for beings to be happy, and unconditional compassion, which is the wish for all beings to be free of suffering. Unconditional, I guess, could be also, you could also use the word all-encompassing, because in the loving kindness and compassion of a Buddha, nobody's ever left outside the circle, so to speak. Also, an enlightened being is omniscient. So, when we're ordinary people, we can still do a lot to help ourselves and help others. But because our wisdom is limited, sometimes our efforts make things worse. We don't intend to make things worse, but so when we become enlightened, we really have a mind that is omniscient. And that omniscient mind can see the minds of others and can therefore understand the best way to help others. So that's why in this tradition, we always begin our day and begin any kind of practice that we do, whether it's meditation or our sadhana practice. We begin that with the motivation to become enlightened. May this be a cause for me to become enlightened, to be able to genuinely and skillfully benefit all living beings. But of course, not everybody's Buddhist. So, that may not fit in with your picture of things. But we can think, we can understand that this basic fact that everybody wants to be happy and nobody wants to suffer. So we can open our hearts and think that, if we get any benefit from this evening, may it be not only for ourselves, but for everyone else. It doesn't mean we forget about ourselves, because, in Buddhism, when we say all sentient beings, we are one of them. But we're trying to move away from the self-centered attitude, because we can see that can be very roughly, very loosely translated as selfishness. We can see what kind of problems that mindset causes in the world. So, whatever motivation you feel comfortable with, just take a few moments very sincerely to set the motivation. You don't have to use my words, you can use your own ideas, your own thoughts, but that understanding of moving away from the selfish mind to caring for others as well as the self. So with the motivation firmly in place, we can move on to settling and calming the body. So make sure you're sitting comfortably, whether you're on a chair or whether you're on a cushion on the floor. Just keep your spine straight, but not rigid. And we're going to scan the body to get rid of any tension. And this tension is counterproductive. It makes the body contracts and the mind also contracts. Because the mind and the body are very closely connected. So let's start at the top of the head. And then slowly move down to the forehead. Check that you're not frowning. When we concentrate, we often frown and clench our jaw without even realizing it. So here we're about relaxing the body and releasing tension. Having a sense of openness, spaciousness. Check the temples. All the muscles around the eyes. Soft. Soften the eyes themselves. Moving down over the cheekbones. To the mouth. Be aware of the muscles around the mouth. Relaxing. Peaceful. Soft. Check that you're not clenching your jaws. Feel the whole of the face relaxed. If you notice little spots of tension, when you breathe out, imagine that the tension leaves the body with the breath and dissolves into space. Soft, relaxed, still. And rest your tongue lightly at the top of your mouth, just behind your teeth. And if you have your mouth very slightly open, it will keep the jaws relaxed. Move back to the top of the head. And then travel down the back of the head, slowly. You come to the base of the skull. You may notice some tension here. Relaxing, releasing. Feel that the whole of your head, front, back, inside, is completely relaxed. Move down to the neck. Relax the throat. Come to the tops of the shoulders. Let's just lift our shoulders up and drop them down. Let's do that 2 more times. Shoulders should be slightly back. Check for tension in the area of the shoulder blades. And go back to the base of the skull and travel down the spine. Releasing the strength in the spine. Support. Move all the way down to the base of the spine. Be aware of the contact of your buttocks on the chair or the cushion. Stable, safe, supported. Come back to the tops of the shoulders and travel down the front of the body. Soften. Top of the chest. Diaphragm. Belly. Whole pelvic area. Again, come back to the shoulders. I think it's the most common place that our bodies hold tension. So allow gravity to help you relax your shoulders. And travel down your arms to your elbows. On the forearms to your wrists. Backs of the hands. Palms of the hands. Be aware of your fingers. Now move to the hips. Travel down through the thighs to your knees. Knees to ankles. Being aware of the calf muscles. Tops of the feet. Soles of the feet. And your toes. Now be aware of the whole body, from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. Just sit and experience the body still, stable, relaxed, supported. Enjoy this for a few moments, not thinking of anything. Now, from this state of calmness, we're going to move into some breathing meditation. I'm sure most of you have done this before, but for those who haven't, our only task is to keep the awareness with the breath. And we can focus on the breath as it enters and leaves the nostrils, which is the most common point of focus, or we can focus on the rise and the fall on the abdomen, which can be quite grounding and useful if you feel your mind is quite agitated. Whichever you choose, stay with that for the duration of the meditation. So the only thing we need to do is keep the awareness with the breath. Whenever the mind wanders, notice that the mind has wandered and bring it back, gently but firmly. If thoughts arise, which they will, don't allow them to carry you away, either into the past or into the future, or, to drag you into turmoil, worrying about the present. The only task is to keep the awareness on the breath. So just check your posture, making sure your spine is straight. Bring the awareness to the breath. Remember the three most important points about our shamatha practice: that we need to be relaxed, we need to be still, and we need to be vigilant. But that vigilance is we need to have a mind that's bright and sharp and notices when the mind wanders. But that mind of vigilance, it's important that it's not tight. So like everything, it's going to take practice. So the part of your mind that acts as a sentry and notices when the mind has wandered, when it's lost its objective focus. Come back again and again to the breath. Don't think of thoughts as a problem. When they come up, it's a reminder that we need not follow them. We just drop them and come back to the breath. Training the monkey mind to stay with the breath. Relaxed but alert. So have a little stretch. And touch base with your motivation again. And we're going to do a little meditation on karma. Now, this meditation was developed by one of the senior nuns of our organisation, known affectionately as Annie Karen by most of us. So sit comfortably. Now, karma is a Sanskrit word meaning action, and it refers to the process of mental imprints turning into the experiences of our life. These imprints are formed through everything we consciously do, say, or think. In fact, it is the thoughts that are most crucial because they are the source of our verbal and physical actions. Karma is a difficult subject to understand through either observation or reasoning. We might be able to deduce a general theory about karma just by pondering, but only a Buddha, a fully awakened being, can directly see the specific workings of karma. Fortunately, the Buddhist scriptures go into extensive detail on this subject, and the Buddha gave us many examples from his own past lives, as well as lists of certain actions to avoid and others to practice in order to get out of our suffering. The following meditation is drawn strictly from the scriptures, but the format is based only loosely on traditional methods. Annie Cohen says, I'm using the imagery of a garden to represent the important points of this topic so as to make the contemplation more engaging. The Buddhist teachings are rich with symbolism and metaphors, especially agricultural ones. But remember, these are only symbols, not the actual thing. Karma is like a seed, but is not actually a seed. Right? It's like a seed, but it's not actually a seed. In the karma garden, I use both traditional imagery and my own. Now visualize yourself walking along the stepping stones that lead to your karma garden. Open the gate, pass through, and look around. At the far end is an orchard with various fruit trees. A fruit tree is not something that appears or disappears quickly, but rather tends to stay put relative to the rest of the garden. The fruit trees represent your throwing karma, the karma that determines what sort of life form you have, whether you're human, animal, spirit, and so forth. At the end of your previous lifetime, a very strong mental imprint came to the forefront of your mind, encouraged by whatever mental state was predominant at that time, and it propelled you into this life. Like the fruit trees, it is a long-term, fixed result. So how does being a human shape the way I experience this life? How would my life be different if I were not a human? Around the edges of the garden are banks of flowers and ornamental plants. These represent the background of your life, your environmental karma. Even the things in your world that seem unrelated to you personally, such as the weather and political events, still appear to you as results of your own past actions and the imprints those actions laid down on your mind. Everything you perceive comes by way of your own mental conditioning. They appear to you in a certain way because you have the propensity to see things that way. Think about, what kind of environment do I live in? Now turn your attention to the vegetable garden. There are some crops, such as corn and beans, that yield a harvest that is the same as the seed you planted. You plant a bean, which is the very seed of a bean plant, and you harvest bean seeds to eat. This represents the karma of habits. You have a tendency towards certain types of thoughts and words and physical actions because you have done the same type of things before, not only in this life but in previous lives. You have done it before, so you do it again, and the cycle continues. Children come into this life with distinctive temperaments. Some enjoy killing animals, for example, and others are horrified by killing. This comes from their past life habit of either killing or not killing. Think, what kinds of habits and mental tendencies do I have? There are other rows of vegetables, such as lettuce and carrots, where the seed is not the harvested part, yet the seed that was planted caused the harvester's part. The lettuce and carrots represent the type of karma that ripens as things that happen to you directly. If you did something to harm someone in a past life, that harm comes back to you. But remember, karma is not punishment. It's a simple law of cause and effect. If it is happening to you now, that means you did it to someone else before, for better or worse. If you are prosperous now, you must have been generous and supported others in the past. If someone harms you now, you must have harmed them in the past. Like the leaves of a lettuce, which correspond to the seed that was planted, you also get a result that corresponds to the seeds you plant. Think about, what kind of experiences do I tend to have? What can these experiences show me about my actions in the past? You have learned so much on this first visit. Sit down on a swinging bench to let it all sink in. The orchard, which is the karma that propelled you into this life. The ornamental plants, forming the background of your life. The seed crops, which are your karmic habits. And the other vegetable crops, which correspond precisely with what you planted in the past. There's a few points about karma. First of all, it is definite in that positive actions will bring positive results. Negative actions will bring negative results. This is certain. Can't possibly be incorrect. The second point is, just as things grow, karma will increase. So if we create negative actions and we don't regret them and purify them, they will lead to suffering in the future. using the analogy of seeds again, if we don't plant a seed, we don't get a result. And the fourth point is that karmic seeds, unlike physical seeds, because the seed is just an analogy, karmic seeds don't have a use-by date. So eventually, given the right conditions, karmic seeds will ripen, the positive ones into pleasant experiences, and the negative ones into suffering experiences. But remember, negative karma can be purified, and positive karma can be, when we create positive actions, we can dedicate that energy to the enlightenment of all beings, and so keep that positive energy safe. So, at the beginning levels of understanding about karma, it's fairly simple. If we don't want to suffer, then don't harm others. If we want to be happy, help others. Sincerely regret our negative actions and purify them, and rejoice in our positive actions and dedicate their energy. If we're Buddhists, of course, dedicate that energy to our eventual enlightenment for all beings. Otherwise, we can just dedicate it to the happiness of everybody in the world. So thank you for joining me, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay safe, stay well, and tomorrow at 10 a.m. There will be a class on Zoom if you'd like to join me. Okay, thank you very much. Have a good evening.